Hello and welcome to Net That Haul. We're here for the Gameweek 6 Matchups show. We've got a very pretty thumbnail with Mohamed Salah there looking at us for the West Ham fixture and Eberechi Eze. I'm, of course, FPL Nemo, and I'm joined by my co-host Gabriel at FPLens. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Although you and I both have like our minds elsewhere, I think for this show. Like Real Madrid playing right now against Union Berlin, Arsenal's playing later. You have some place to be, so we need to dive right into this.
Today we're going to go quickly.
Cracking that whip today.
Today we're going quickly, and then Mariner as well. Obviously, it's the first time all three of us are back since before when I went away and before the international break. So, how are you doing, Chris? It's nice to have all three of us here for the matchup show.
Well, I'm back in Dubai. I'm not so well because I managed to bring the dreaded lurgy back from Singapore. But I don't have any matches to go to today because Grimsby aren't in Europe, so I have nothing to worry about. But yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
Let's go straight to the
forward to another show.
Yeah, nice one. So we've got the Gameweek 6 FPL Philosophy. We're going to give you a minute here, Gabe, to rock the audio as well for the podcast listeners.
Yeah, it's getting right into it. 90 seconds into the show, straight into the FPL Philosophy for Gameweek 6. And it comes to us from our good friend Socrates, or as Bill and Ted call him, Socrates. Falling down is not a failure. Failure comes when you stay where you have fallen. And this, this just kind of encapsulates, like, I'm on Wildcard, and this kind of like encapsulates my situation. And the inspiration for my wild card was Mariner. So this quote reminded me of Mariner when he fell down after game week 1. He picked himself
three,
back up.
Three.
Sorry, game week 3. And then he picked himself back up, and now he's fallen down again, and he's got no wild card. But we'll get to that.
So I'm just putting the poll out as well, asking people if they had a green arrow this week. So if you had a red arrow and you've fallen down, as Gabe and the quote are saying, that's not a failure. The failure will be if you stay there and just get red arrows every week for the next 35 weeks. But so how do you fix that? You go on wildcard. That's the solution.
That's how you fix it.
You wildcard. But then, hang on a minute. I want to make a quick point about this. I've got a minute for this. I've been reading some absolutely incredible stuff over on Twitter this week, trying to explain, content creators trying to explain why they are wildcarding. For sake, everybody, I can't swear yet because we might get pinged, Nima, but for goodness sake, everybody, you wildcard. I wildcarded because my team, because I hated my team. Simple. I absolutely detested my team. I knew it wasn't right. I wildcarded. Everybody is different. Gabe, I am looking forward to picking your wildcard to pieces this evening.
Oh, the evil laugh, I'm sure, is ready to roll today.
When's the Newcastle fixture?
When do my nightmares begin?
Let's see.
They played yesterday, so it'll be Saturday.
No, I'm talking about in the show.
Oh, right. Well, it will be one of the earlier matchups. Yeah. Okay, cool. So
I got a sneak peek.
Come
on, let's go.
Keep going.
Let's go.
All right. So thank you all for joining us in the chat. We'll put your comments up on the screen as we go and just say hello and start any questions for the Q&A. We are going to be out here about 15 minutes before the Arsenal match starts. I am sorry, Gabe, that Union Berlin are about to get thrashed. So at least there's that condolence. I'm hoping for a big victory. I have Captain Jude Bellingham in my UCL fantasy team. But going on to FPL. Yeah, Madrid, man. I'm a Madrista tonight with you. So Crystal Palace versus Fulham is the first game of the game week. There's no 12:30 kickoff. Don't be caught out by that. Deadline is 1:30 p.m. for 3 o'clock Saturday. Yeah, so this is going to be sharp. I know that you said there's just mainly data and the graphics for this week. So there won't be like the text analysis. So we'll let you kind of take us through. But if you like, I'll start with the numbers, and then Mariner, you can take over the numbers from the next matchup onwards. So
okay.
Carrying on from last week, I'm just in the zone now. So Crystal Palace NetxG 1.88, Fulham 1.16. The FDR, on the other hand, attacking wise for Crystal Palace 1.9, defensively 1.9. So it's a very good matchup for Crystal Palace on both the NetxG and the FDR. That's why I had Eze on the thumbnail, just to say there's a few people talking about selling him this week. He was actually someone that was considering buying for the next few fixtures. So that's why I'm really keen to hear what you think and whether you agree with the data, Gabe.
Yeah, actually, I mean, the data is pretty unanimous in this one. So I think I would tend to agree with it, especially Crystal Palace at home. I know Mariner has spoken extensively about Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, that they're always a difficult team to play there. But I would turn people's attention to like the real opportunity in this one. And Craig from the Man On Pod, they talked about this in their pod earlier in the week. The fact that Fulham concedes so many shots. If you look at Crystal Palace's shot XG metric, so that's the matchup of the shots for Crystal Palace and Fulham. And Fulham just concedes so much, so many shots, that I think the volume play for Crystal Palace is Eze over Edouard. I think Edouard doesn't need much to produce. We've seen it all season, but the way the matchups line up here, I think if anybody's considering bringing Crystal Palace in for players in for their nice run of fixtures, I think this one and the upcoming ones kind of line up better for Eze, but Edouard is such a good value pick that that I wouldn't fault anybody for bringing him in. What are your thoughts, man?
I'm in the Edouard camp rather than the Eze camp, actually, and I'm looking at it purely and simply from talismanic sort of purposes. One thing I will say is that if you look at the matchups on the XG, the big chances, shots on target, shots in the box, and everything, not very green. That suggests that whilst Fulham might be conceding a lot, Crystal Palace might not be creating that much. So you have to think of it that way as well. I'm going to very quickly flick slides, Nima, and then you can take it back. This is the talisman data that I've been doing, and you can see here for Crystal Palace that Edouard is top at 67% actual involvement, 47% expected involvement. The XG matchup in the next 5 game weeks goes at 5.11 for Palace, so not very high. But Eze's got 2.9. Edouard's got 2.95 of that, and Eze only 1.19 on the basis of the numbers. Now they're early numbers, they're very early numbers, and Lucian yesterday said that. Hang on a minute, Chris. Don't forget what Edouard's return was last week. It wasn't exactly. It was a bit of luck, really, as much as anything. So fair point. But I'm still keen on Edouard, and I'll tell you why I particularly like him, because he fits the team structures of what people are going to right now. Yeah. That's why I probably like him over Eze.
Yeah, I tend to agree. There's so many midfielders we want, and most people are playing with a front two. So I don't know if I'd want him as my second striker, but if you want a kind of third man that isn't Archer,
yes,
someone maybe to rotate.
I think he's a very suitable third man if indeed you can still get someone like Salah with your budget, because I think that's key. Because if you can't, you've got to go to Archer.
That structure point is one of the most interesting, I think, conversations right now in FPL. Like, do you go with Archer's a great pick, 4.5? Do you go that route where you get like invest almost nothing, but it's still a good pick? Do you get a little bit more for more talisman in Edouard, or do you jump up and go for Watkins or Callum Wilson? And so that decision on the structure for managers, I think, will be a nice differentiator.
Yeah, and don't forget Morris as well. There's another one. In that price bracket as well. Exactly. The one with double game weeks, sir.
less
anything. Right, let's keep going. Come on.
Keep going. Next matchup.
Less of Morris
Next.
is more.
Right, next matchup. So, okay, I'm keeping eyes on time. As if by magic, the next fixture is Luton versus Wolves.
Well, there we go.
I'll let you do the metrics on this one, Mariner.
Yeah, I don't mind, Nima. We can take them in turns. Luton, 1.57 NetxG, which is the highest that I've seen this year for them, I think. Wolves, 1.2. They are, generally speaking, pretty poor away from home. Wolves look a different beast this year to me, very much so. Fixture difficulty, on the other hand, 1.1 for Luton at home against Wolves, -1. And defensively, 1 for Luton as well. So a little bit of something there for Luton little bit on shots on target for Luton as well. 5 point, is that 5.3? It is 5.3. But Gabe's shot goal predictors go nowhere. I don't think it likes it. It likes it for last match of the day, I think, looking at that, Gabe. I'm just very interested to see whether we think it's suitable this week to bring Morris in. That's my only question I've got for you guys on this.
So I almost did Pedro to Morris last week. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it last week was because in my heart, I knew that if I didn't do it last week, I probably would not sell Pedro before Bournemouth at home this week. So now I'm kind of sweating the Thursday Brighton lineup in Europe and seeing how that all looks. But I don't see a world in which I'm going to sell my albeit limited minutes striker, but my Brighton striker for a Luton striker a week early. I just don't see myself doing that. It also has made me start to question whether I even buy Morris at all. Because now I'm getting to the situation where if I was going to sell Pedro this week, the only player I would sell him for is Alvarez. So, like, when I compare Alvarez and Morris, it just kind of seems pretty obvious that one of them is a far worse pick for me. But I know when we look at the numbers and stuff later, I know you've got the data for the projected points over the next 5 weeks or so, and even on models, other models as well. Like, Morris comes in very high on these models. So
he does.
That's just one thing to think about. And this home game against Wolves, surely this is an entry point, right?
I think it is. But I've got a little caveat, Gabe, and then I'll bring you in, mate. I want to just caveat the fact, if you look at expected involvement against actual involvement so far, he's overperforming by 0.6. Now, that is significant. So that his actual involvement his expected involvement is 38% is actual. He's been involved in everything. So from that side of it, is there the fact that there's a bit of regression coming in on this for him as well? But on the face of it, Luton's XG matchup for the next 5 game weeks, in fact, for them, it's 5 fixtures, 5.72. And his involvement would be 3.77. It's not bad, but whether you think there's some regression there or not remains to be seen. Gabe?
I mean, I think I would turn people's attention to the upcoming kind of fixture swing and the more upside transfers that we're going to want to make. Like if you're bringing even right now there are players with good fixtures this week they're better players and like all at the beginning of the season there was that tweet that we ridiculed saying Luton have the 3rd best FDR or something like that. We're kind of in the same territory. But and we're not ridiculing that narrative anymore. So I think it's a kind of time for a reality check. I maybe prefer Edouard. Like if I'm going to choose between the two, and if you still have your wild card and you want a dead end into some Luton players, fair enough. If you want to take advantage of that double, but if you don't, or if you're not planning to dead end and you want to extend your wild card, I think Luton is a massive distraction from actually good assets in FPL.
I think that's what puts me off further, game, because if I try to get to Salah without wildcarding and delay the wildcard, Morris is a transfer in and out, and I don't have 2 transfers to be faffing about like that. I don't want to get rid of Archer, right? So what am I going to do? Get Alvarez and Morris, then take Morris back to Archer? Like, is there not a world where I just go Pedro straight to Alvarez and be done? Like,
yeah.
And
there's just too many moves.
This is the reason why I really like Edouard, because what I've done now up here is I've got 5, the next 5, and then I've got another 5. And you can see that Morris drops off, whereas Edouard improves, because their fixtures get better. So I think, if you're going to bring Morris in and then move to Edouard, if maybe you're holding enough transfers, you can do that without any cost, then maybe. But it is an extra transfer. And that's why I think Edouard is possibly the move that I would probably look at, purely and simply down to the fact that I think you're not going to keep Morris for too long. And I think, someone like Edouard is sat there and he's more of a longer-term pick for your wild card, I think.
Just to say it's time to go to the next matchup. I'm sure we'll talk about Luton.
We're done. Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about just Pedro Neto? We spoke about last time, Gabe. He's continuing to impress. I think one to watch. Like, we're not going to invest in Wolves right now, but still one to watch. He still looks like their best player. Like he just looks fantastic every time he drives forward with the ball, and you feel like something's going to happen. I think there was a lovely ball I saw him make. It was like going across the penalty line, and no one quite made it in to attack the ball, and that would have been another assist. So I really enjoy watching him, and it's just nice to see him back from injury, as people were saying. But yeah, apart from that, we will talk about the other players. And I think just Neto, he's actually leading the league for assists as well so far this season. So
he destroyed Joe Gomez, didn't he? That was really funny. But anyway, there's another story.
Yeah.
We will come to your question, son of Sam. I've just started for the Q&A at the end. So here we are for the timestamps, 15 minutes 30, Man City versus Forest. This is the one everyone's looking forward to, right? There's so many injuries at Man City. It seems like Grealish is back now, back in training, so he's kind of fine and almost there. Bernardo Silva's injury isn't too serious. Doku's looked very impressive once he got rested midweek. What are you guys thinking about Man City? Like, the defense feels like it's the place where, apart from Diaz, there's the most rotation. Is there viability in the triple City attack? Is that something you're looking at with your wildcard game? Or do you think 2 is enough and you're not so keen on Foden at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think Foden, we see in like, so one new thing that I have in the slides here is you have the two teams, so Manchester City on top and the average positions from their last match. So you have Manchester City in white on top, and we have Forest in red below that. And the first image, the image on the left, is their average positions, and then the image on the right is the average positions after the substitutions are made. That's just for reference for people watching on the show here. So I mean, Manchester City, I mean, I think it's Holland and Alvarez are, I mean, people don't like the word essential, but 97% of the game has Holland, so I'm going to use it. So yeah, I think those two players are absolutely essential. So it's just like, are you going to use a midfield spot on a third? Are you going to dedicate it to a defense with the upcoming fixtures? I don't think I would go defensive for Manchester City after this fixture, like in the long term. For this one, a defender is obviously okay. But then in attack, I don't know if I would go for Foden either. I don't think Foden is on the end of the balls enough. He's used more as an enabler right now, and so I just think there's more upside elsewhere other than Foden.
Fair. So I'm a Foden owner, and I don't know what I'm going to do with him yet. Like, I don't want to sell him before Forest. I imagine he does start, but long term, he's someone I'm looking to move out of. Originally, I'd been looking to move on when Arsenal and City play each other. I kind of had this thought that if I had 2 free transfers in game week 8, after the double game week, I could do like Martinelli and Foden to Son and Maddison for that Luton fixture for Spurs. But now it looks like Martinelli might need to be resolved before then, and I'm not quite ready on the Foden part. So just thinking of structure, you mentioned structure, Gabe. One of the things that I was looking at was a world in which I actually go for Nakamba instead of Morris. So I pay 4.4 million to get the 4 points for appearance, and he's basically my 5th mid. And that fund's Salah. No, that's instead of Morris, mate. Like, you're paying 1.1 million more to get Morris, and he's gonna get the same points as Nakamba. He's gonna get the same.
You honestly think you're going to get 4 points from Nakamba? We were working out whether we'd get 0 last night. We were working out whether we were going to get.
He's not a defender.
It doesn't matter.
How is he going to get
bookings.
0?
Concede easily. Conceding both goals and 2 bookings. There we go. Done. Finished. Bye-bye.
That's 2 points still. You just said 0 points.
Bookings. Conceding goals
he doesn't
as well.
Points for conceding goals, buddy.
Oh, of course he doesn't. No.
He's a forward.
Anyway, all right then, 2 points. All right then, I'm losing my mind. All right then, 2 points.
I thought I was lost for a second. Okay,
terrible. Enough said. I'm losing my mind.
That's an interesting point you make, Nita.
So you're telling me
you do make an interesting point.
I own him.
Those two.
I own him, and I'm going to bench him for the double. Right. Anyway, there we go.
Yeah, but I'm saying I could like bring Salah.
Hang on a minute.
So if I need to deal with Martinelli, and if I was to hear Foden was benched, suddenly, Gabe, I'm in a world where I'm thinking, I've got 2 free transfers. I'm like, should I just like take a -4 and get rid of Martinelli, Foden, and Pedro and get Alvarez, Salah, and Nakamba? If Nakamba for a benched Foden funds Martinelli to Salah and Alvarez to Pedro, I'll take that on a -4 and just skip Morris altogether. And then sure.
Wait, why not get Archer?
I already have him.
Oh, he's your okay. Wait.
This would be my as in I would make my second.
Oh, right. I
into
see what you're
Alvarez.
saying. I see.
So with that
your second
money,
striker now about us.
because if you think about Foden 7.5,
guys, how come we've got talking about marvelous Nakamba in the middle of a Manchester City against Nottingham Forest matchup?
Well, it's about structure. It's about structure and how to bring Alvarez and Foden and those players.
All right.
And Doku. People are looking at Doku now as well. They're seriously tempted by him for a few weeks. So it's just triple attack. It's the question of, do you go triple attack with City because the defenders are too
personally, I don't think so. And I own Diaz and I benched him last week as well because I'm convinced they're going to keep conceding. I also think they'll concede this week. I'm going to play him, but I think they'll concede again. I think Forest have got a goal in him. We said that last night. We said Awoniyi's definitely the real deal for me this year. Everything goes through him.
So can we talk like Awoniyi as a pick then?
I think so.
I agree. I agree with you. I think we've all been pretty high on him this season, but nobody's really bringing him in.
I know someone
can't quite
who
get
Jackson
to him in my
for
wild
him
card
last week on a free transfer.
It's almost his 0.5. It's almost his 0.5 too expensive. I think, given the fact you've got someone like Alvarez sat there. Alvarez is cleaning up the game. He will clean the game up. The longer these injuries stay, he will just clean the game up. Because people are saying, "Oh, he's going to be benched." I'd be amazed if he's benched this week. I mean, because they're just desperate. They're so short.
Surely Awoniyi is worth the 0.5 over Edouard, right?
He's one over Edouard. He's $1 million over Edouard. Edouard's 5.5, I think.
Oh, so he's not worth that.
And he's gone up in price. He's not even 6.5 anymore.
Yeah,
he's 6.6.
That's the problem.
His price risen.
Okay.
But it's from my perspective, should we very quickly look at the numbers? Manchester City 2.7, 2.7 attack and defence. Obviously, a bright red for XG, big chances, shots on target, shots in the box. It could be a long day for Forest. I personally, Gabe, your shot goal predictors think it as well, at least 2, I would guess. That said, I'm going to go with a typical Manchester City score these days, 3-1. I think we'll concede. I genuinely think we'll concede. Anything we want to add on this one before we move on, or as we've probably given this one a good go in a roundabout way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think we'll be talking about Man City a lot more in the captaincy metric and general.
Would we? There was a question here. Would we start Awoniyi over against City? I would. If I haven't got a City defender, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I own Taiwo, I wouldn't want to bench him personally, but it just depends. Yeah. Who would you be playing instead of Taiwo if you did bench him? Because if it's like
I got him in place of Pedro last week. So if Claire brought him in place of Pedro last week, I don't know who should play otherwise. But I really think Awoniyi has got a goal in him anywhere. He literally has got a goal in him anywhere to me. Home or away. Forest a bit better away from home this year as well.
Ederson has a gift in him.
And Ederson has a gift in him every week. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Cool. All right, let's go to the next one then. So we have Brentford versus Everton, the Mobuemo versus Pickford derby.
Poor Mick hates him, doesn't he? He's called him Brickford now. Have you seen it? That's his new name. Anyway, Brentford's NetxG 1.7, Everton's 1.32. Brentford's fixture difficulty, it really likes them. It hates Everton away. It's hated them for a long time away from home. I think the reason it hates them so much, Gabe, is look at those matchups. 2.1 XG matchup, 3.2 big chances, 6.2 shots on target, 12 shots in the box, 3.8 headers. I think you can safely say that Brentford assets are very interesting in this fixture. And Everton just recently away from home have been bloody horrible. I don't know what you think, Gabe. I really fancy Brentford to give Everton a bit of a whacking, quite frankly.
I'm looking at the shots goal predictor and trying to figure out why it's so green for Everton. And I think it's pulling data from it's data from the end of last season where they
chasing the game.
it's their XG on target per shot on target. So like when they get a shot on target, it's usually like a high quality shot, and that's kind of elevating them. But I think it's a little bit artificial based on what we've seen this season. To your point there, Mariner. So I would kind of ignore that a little bit. I think worst case scenario, I think this game lines up nicely for Flecken. I know Flecken's been taking some heat lately for some mistakes that he's been making, but he has saved. There's a shade being thrown on Flecken, but he has saved 5 out of 7 big chances this season, which is one of the best rates in the league. So I think Flecken, if Everton are going to get some shots, I think Flecken is a really good play here. He's like one of my favorite plays here. I mean, Mbumo's kind of almost obvious in every fixture, certainly at home versus Everton, right?
He is, but I've got to be honest with you. I mean, he's involved in like 45% of everything that Brentford do, but I never see him doing anything. Do you know what I mean?
There's a reason for that.
He's a funny one.
Yeah,
he's a funny one.
It's the reason for that. It was like at the beginning of the season we talked about the Mbumobile and how he oftentimes his job is to get isolated on the right side. We see Brentford's left zonal matchup at 4.6, which stands out compared to the center and right at 3.0 each. And that stands out because that's where the chance creation is going to come from. But he's on the end of those chances on the opposite side. And if he gets 1v1, then he's usually able to get by one defender at least. And I think that's how his production comes. It's like, to your point, Mariner, it's in spurts. And in the meantime, like, he could be totally absent.
Yeah, absolutely. Nima, I mean, obviously we're playing our Brentford assets if we've got them. I will play Fleck, and I was disgusted with that penalty which he conceded last week. I sounded off about that last night. I'll obviously play Mbumo as well. I would play Visser if I owned him as well. I'm
seeing a few selling Visser for Alvarez.
I wouldn't sell him this. I wouldn't. Well, that's maybe possible, but I'll tell you what, that could come back and haunt you because Visser this week, I think, has got an opportunity against Everton for sure.
I think I've got Pickford in goal this week. Let me just check.
God.
Yeah, yep. I have Pickford in goal this week. Fantastic. And I'm playing Mbumo as well.
I mean, put it quite simply, Mbumo and Visser are responsible for 80% of Brentford's involvement in goals. 80%.
That's crazy. That is crazy. No, I do think I think a lot of people are kind of dismissing Mbumo. They're like kind of saying, oh, if you remove the penalty and like some fluky assists here and there, he's not done anything. And I'm like, I don't agree with that, because for me, like, he is gonna probably stay the talisman all season.
He is.
I think Tony's gonna get sold in January, personally, if you ask me. There's a lot of clubs trying to buy Tony once his ban ends in the January window. So I think he's now that man. He's matured and grown into that role. He's the leader of that team.
I mean, I just saw that message from Leon about hiding from the ball. I don't think it's that. I think he hides from the camera.
The camera's usually on the ball.
Honesty, with all honesty, if you ask a good point. With all honesty, though, that is one of the big challenges about being an Mbumo owner, is the fact you go for long. He always he seems to get something, but
I think that's just how Brentford play.
It doesn't feel good, does it?
No, but that's how Brentford play. Man United play the same way, and everyone's saying keep their double mids for 9 weeks.
Yeah.
So how is Brentford any different to the way Man United play?
No, true.
They play
I'm just making a
passing
point.
the ball from their goalkeeper to their centre back 50 times and say,
but
look
I think
how
that's
great we are.
but I think that's the mental battle, isn't it, about this? Because again, I'm going to sell him because he's not doing much. Well, he's still returning this, and those two are still responsible for 80%. I mean, let's face it, if Brentford get a return and Boomer's not involved, you're unlucky.
Gabe, what about this one from Black Screen before we move on? Just if we're worried about him playing right back last game. No, I don't think that will happen. I think Hickey will just slot in or switch sides and someone else will come in and play in the back line, right? I think that was just the Rico Henry injury. It just kind of probably threw them a bit. I'm assuming that's when he moved to right back, when Rico Henry got injured. Or for like a brief period.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know when he moved to, He did play some back there, but I don't see Brentford taking their, like you were
like their
saying,
number one.
he's not a replacement for Tony. Yeah, like
Yeah, like you're not going to take
the
your
guy that's
Tony
involved in most of
replacement
their goals
and
and throw
play
him
in
at
the
right back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
see that
Thomas Frank
happening.
is going to do that. So no concerns.
This
there for
isn't
me.
the Zerbi. It's not like where Gross plays in every position on the pitch. I don't personally see it, but maybe it's one to monitor, because if we did see it again, I think that will spook owners to sell.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Mikel Antonio, he used to play every position for West Ham too before he became a striker. Maybe he's one of those. Cool, let's get to the next game. And yeah, Pickford, I was considering selling him for the Luton keeper in game week 8, but then I realized Pickford plays against Luton, so it's probably not really worth a transfer to get Kaminsky when Pickford himself is home against Luton. It doesn't feel great. So Burnley versus Man United. This is the game that we've all been waiting for, right? This is the Rashford game, I keep telling myself. He should get ample opportunities to run in behind. They actually have a physical striker now that he can play with. Obviously, they've got to build chemistry and figure out how, maybe to pass more often. I think Rashford's very used to having to be the only guy who can go and get the goals for his team. And I think he is trying to find Rasmus more often, but it will take some time and chemistry for them playing together, obviously, to build that relationship. But this should be an exciting game. I don't see Vincent Kompany changing his style at home. I think he's going to go for it. What are your kind of predictions, guys? Do you think Burnley have enough in the tank to steal a point here?
I mean, if we look at the numbers, NetxG is 1.46, Burnley 1.14. So probably suggests they both might get something, but doesn't necessarily suggest people going crazy. Fixture Difficulty likes Manchester United attack more than a lot more than Burnley's attack, 2.8 against minus 1.1. The zonal matchups for Manchester United through the middle, 4.9 are very good, and 4.3 on both wings are very good as well. Whereas Burnley's obviously much lower, but pinch of salt because we're using data. We're using very, very small amounts of data for Burnley. I think the telling thing for me, Gabe, is the fact that 3 big chances, 2.7 big chances, 10.3, 5.3 shots on target, 10.3 shots in the box. I expect Manchester United to put some of them away, personally. And the way that if Burnley play as badly, potentially, as they did against Spurs, we could be seeing a different scoreline to what NetxG suggests anyway. I don't know what you think.
I think I'm going to take the data and I'm going to put it all away. And I'm just going to go into friggin' Eric Tenfrod fucking strengthens his fucking spine in the offseason. And then he comes out against Wolves and plays balls wide to Garnacho. And then he goes up against Brighton last week, who play wide and their strength is moving the ball forward through the middle and then wide up the wings. And he plays a fucking narrow diamond. So Eric Ten Hag doesn't know how to set his team up. He doesn't understand any tactics. He doesn't understand the players on his team or the culture. Never mind. Maybe he's perfect for the culture of that fucking club. So I don't think any of this means anything. I think Burnley are going to press Manchester United off the ball in midfield. I think they're not going to know how to adapt. And I agree with Black Screen. Fucking Burnley's going to win this game.
Really? Wow. That'll be an interesting one. That's a good. I like that prediction.
I mean, look, United.
Have you sold them all in your wildcard? Have you got any?
I want nothing to do with United.
Fair enough.
I only had one, but I mean, I think Burnley will provide spaces for Rashford for sure. So Rashford can always get something, but Manchester United are a disaster. They just got a complete train wreck of a team, and I want no part of them. I don't want to watch them. Yeah. I'd rather watch friggin' who are you talking about? Edward, or I'd rather watch Mbomo do nothing and then score at the end of a game. I'd rather watch, I don't know, Luton play in someone's backyard.
Their own. But anyway, that's another story. Nima, any light at the end of the tunnel for Rashford, given the fact he's going to go back out on that left now consistently? Do you think he is possibly my only route to Mo Salah?
I'm going to play Rashford for these next few. I know a lot of people thought Bruno was the better option after the first few weeks. I think it's kind of shifted and U-turned now, and people are now feeling that Rashford's maybe the better option over Bruno. I do like these next fixtures for Man United, jokes aside. I do think that if Ten Hag can't get results in this next 4 or 5 games, he's going to be sweating it come Christmas. Because really, these are the fixtures for him. Like, he needs to start getting some points on the board. If you ask me, even the 6 points they have is quite fortunate. You know, I don't think it's biased to me to say, like, my friends who are United fans say that they were fortunate to get points against Wolves. They were fortunate to get most of the points they got this season. And ironically, the game they looked best in was the first 20 minutes against Spurs, which they lost 2-0. So they could have been 2-0 up at halftime. That's probably the best I've seen them play all season. And beyond that, I've not really been very impressed. So I think if there was ever a time for them to get things right, it is these next 4 to 5 games and this period before the next international window. If he doesn't, I just think the leaks that you're seeing come out of the club are going to keep getting amplified, and there's going to be more leaks coming out, and it's going to start turning toxic at some point because, you know, the leaks aren't good by any means, that's for sure. And right now there's, I don't know, like, I don't want to talk about rumors, but if you've not seen the United leaks, like, there's a new one every other day about what's happening and like how the scouting department's being used and how Ten Hag's agent and their agency are too involved in transfers and how, you know, there's only like 2 players that weren't bought that weren't already linked to Ten Hag in the past. And so, yeah, I think this is where we need to see a style of play from United is what I would say, Gabe, because, you know, it's been over a year now and he spent 450 million and I can't point to a style of play, at least with Klopp and these guys when they arrived. The results may not have been there, but there was a vision to believe in, to follow a style of play that was being taught. I still just see like a team that relies on individual brilliance. And that's not going to cut it, I don't think. I think United are used to competing at the top, and this rebuild, I think this fixture against Burnley is when it's going to start. So I've got Rashford. I think he's going to get a brace. I'm going to say it now. And I think they're going to start performing after this game because it's kind of like now or never in my eyes. Like, if they flop these next few fixtures, how long does Ten Hag really have left?
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, and again, Rashford's just involved in virtually half of everything that Manchester United do, quite frankly. So again, I think if you're going anywhere, I mean, the only 2 players who are getting involved in anything really are Rashford and Bruno, with a few little bits for everything else. So, I mean, I wouldn't be selling them right now. I tend not to. I don't know whether I'd hold 2, but maybe some people still do have 2. I wouldn't sell any of them this week. Should we keep going? Unless there's any questions for this one, is there? No, I don't think so.
No, just a shout out to everyone who's tuned in live as well.
Yeah.
If you guys are enjoying this show, this was the halfway, 5 matchups out of 10 done. Please do hit that like. If you're on the podcast, do leave a review. That means a lot to us. But otherwise, let's go to the 6th matchup, which is the North London Derby at 2 p.m. on Sunday.
Well, this one we have to stay under 8 minutes, Neem.
No. This one's going to be 5 minutes. It will come up.
Right,
later.
let's go. 38 minutes. I'm watching it. I'm watching the time. Let me go with the numbers first. Let me do the numbers. So NetxG for Arsenal at home 2.23. That's high. That's high. Spurs away 1.61. My fixture difficulty really likes Arsenal as well at 3.6 at home, and Spurs are neutral. It's obviously the North London derby. A lot of statistics get thrown in the bin when these 2 get lock-ons, as we've seen many times before. The matchups and everything, XG prefers Arsenal to big chances 3.4, shots on target 5.6, shots in the box 12.3, headers as well. God help me if Gabriel scores an header. I think you'll hear the explosion from here. Gabe, very quickly before I let Nima go on this to probably unpick it, your numbers as well seem to suggest goals across the board here. What are you saying? 2-2, something like that? Arsenal concede at home. I think they do anyway, and so does the fixture difficulty, and more to the point, so does NetxG. You're muted, mate, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Trying to avoid the gremlins today. So far, so good.
Yeah.
You're right. Arsenal concede at home, but even more so than that, I think Tottenham just score. I think Ange Postecoglou is. I think their attack. Yeah, they struggled a little bit against Sheffield United, but But I think this will be an open game. It won't be cagey, and so I do see goals for both sides. You know, I think Saka is obvious for Arsenal. I don't know if I would go much deeper though than Saka. I obviously I don't like any of the defensive assets because I think Tottenham will score. I think Maddison is pretty much a season keeper. He's talk about being involved and just a lot of their creative play. So Saka and Maddison are the two standouts for me, and I don't know that I would like to go much deeper into this fixture than those two.
I mean, I'm just a Saka owner, and I've got to a point now. I'm just a Saka owner. Of course, Martinelli's now injured, Nima. What's that going to do to Arsenal? It looks like he might be out for a while by the sound of things.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too ahead of myself. He's not had a scan yet. He's ruled out of tonight, but they've not ruled him out of Sunday yet. So until I see the presser and the scan results, I'm not going to sell him. But if he's confirmed out, it's a hamstring. He felt something in his hamstring. Obviously, then it's a sell, I think. It's pretty obvious sell. But for now, Saka, I think going into the next round of fixtures, like I'm looking to sell Saliba this week. I was going to sell Martinelli by game week 8, even if he wasn't injured. So I was happy to go down to just Saka for the foreseeable. So really, I think just the next fixture after this is Bournemouth. And I would really like to have had Martinelli for that Bournemouth game before I sold the head of the City game. But, this Tottenham game, I would have loved this for Martinelli, but that's a shame. I think Trossard will just slot straight in there, so I don't think there'll be much else different to that. I think they will score Spurs. They get an annual penalty at the Emirates. Now that Kane's not there, maybe that means Son is the one to score it. I am going for 3-1 Arsenal, something like that. I just think that if Spurs actually come and try to play football, which I believe Ange will do, and I don't think he's going to just park up shop. I think he's going to play the way he's been playing all season. If they do that, I just think we have way too much for them. I don't think I actually recall seeing Spurs come to the Emirates anytime I've ever been there in the last 10 years and play football. So, yeah, honestly, like even last year, I think it was 1st of October, North London Derby. I remember Kane got the penalty, as we said. I think Emerson got a red card or something, and then we won 3-1. And I just remember in that game, like they were barely crossing the halfway line, and every once in a while you see Son and Kane and maybe Richarlison just like sprinting 3/4 of the pitch on a counter. So this will be refreshing to see a Spurs team coming who have a style of play. They're actually playing exciting attacking football. I think if I had Spurs assets, they're an easy play. I think they're going to definitely get that goal, as I say. But overall, I just don't see how them playing attacking football won't fall into our hands, because it's just a dangerous game, I think. Yeah,
I can see Arsenal. I can see Arsenal. If Spurs come out, Arsenal definitely. I just put up a minute ago. Arsenal definitely catch Spurs for sure. I just think. I mean, look. I think this is a game of. The assets are very clear for me right now. Obviously, if Martinelli's fit, then that's different. But it's Saka, it's Maddison, and it's possibly Son. And I think that's where we go. Udogi's sitting on the bench this week. Playing for me.
I'm playing as Stupinian. I do hope we hear some good news about him because he's got a tasty fixture. So I'd rather play him than Udogi. But yeah, I think it's probably a bit biased, Black Screen. But I don't know how many years. But we're being realistic. I don't know how many years you have to go back to see Spurs win at the Emirates. Like records are there to be broken, but they just don't do it. So I don't think it's so biased. And if you look at all the goals, people say there's a high scoring fixture. Not many of those goals for Tottenham have come at the Emirates. Sure, there's been a lot of goals in this match, but Spurs' goals have been at their stadium.
I reckon there might be goals. I reckon there might be goals. There we go. That's my prediction. I'm going to go with 2. I want it to be classic. I want it to be a game I enjoy. There we go. I want to watch it and enjoy it.
I want to bring up. Combe brings up Sarr. Whoops. And I think Sarr is a really nice enabler against Tottenham against deep blocks. I think Sarr really can come out and shine in certain matchups. So if somebody were going back to structure in like a 3-4-3 structure, right, with Callum Wilson up top and as your third forward, and that's a little bit of a dangerous position, right? Callum Wilson is a notorious troll. You don't know if he's going to be benched. You know, we don't know how those roles line up. If it's like Isak on the for Europe and Wilson in the league, we don't know that yet. But if but Sar is really nice cover, especially in the right fixtures. So I think there's really nice value with that player.
Do you know what? I don't know if I agree with you, and I'll tell you why. Most people are on Udogie. People have got Maddison. If Son goes off, would you want to be blocked from a triple Spurs with someone like Sarr at 5.5 when you've got Edouard at the same price at 5.5 as a forward, who's probably 4 times predicted more production than Sarr? Being honest with you, I know why you're thinking, because I do agree with you, but I think as much as I disagreed with Nima and got proved very wrong earlier on about Marvelous Nakamba, I think that's where I'd go. I think, and that's where I am actually. I think if I'm going to do anything with that fifth midfield slot, I'm going to junk it. I'm just going to go down to 4.5 and junk it, and then the next price I'm going to be at 6.6.
Sarr is 4.6.
5 points. Is he 5? 5.4.
I thought he's 5.
It's 5 and a bit, isn't he?
No,
he's 5 and a bit.
No,
Are you looking at a
look him
different
up. Sarr is cheap as I'm pretty sure.
4.5. Blacksmith says 4. He's probably risen from one of his returns to 4.6. Then, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I've got the wrong price somewhere. How come I've got the wrong price?
That must be where I got it from.
Oh, he is
4.6.
Okay, no, sorry, I take that back. That's the second time I've been wrong about that slot tonight. Do you know what? I'll stick with. I'll tell you what I will do though, is I'll stick with my initial point, which I think is still the right one. I think he could block.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
I agree. Like if you really want Son, but I think I also think that there's a little bit of a danger in like looking at things like that. It blocks Son, but Son could block Saka, and which blocks Rashford, which so like you can go other ways. It's not just
if you want Maddison, Sarr, and Udogie, and
I agree.
Have another expensive midfielder, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think you want Nakamba and Son, or you want Sarr and Saka.
I think if you treat them as silos, if you treat the teams as silos, and you look at them and you say, for Spurs, you're blocking Spurs. I mean, people said about Gusto, didn't they? About Chelsea, when the right man wants 3 Chelsea anymore. But from that perspective,
things change.
It's that point, isn't it? It's the fact. Oh, why do you want him when you might want to have to move him out? And I suppose it is a valid point. 8 minutes, 9 minutes.
Not bad.
Well, I stopped when it was 44 minutes in, and you've been going for the last 3.5 minutes.
But we never had the opportunity to bloody respond. Anyway, there we go.
Don't try it. I counted for the first 3 minutes. Then I spoke at 40 till 43.
I wrote the time we started that one down as well. There we go.
I've got it. We started at 38 minutes. At 41 minutes, I spoke for 2 minutes. Did my bias a bit. And then you spoke about Sarr for longer than I even spoke. So
I didn't even bring the Sarr conversation up. Next one, right? Come on, let's go.
I think Sarr is a fair enough point to bring up because he does.
I do.
Great.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree with you, but I just think I'd probably stick with the others. Anyway, let's go. Brighton against Bournemouth. Brighton 2.04. NetxG, Bournemouth 1.28. Brighton fixture difficulty really likes them 4.1, but everyone loves Brighton at the moment, and I'll tell you why. Because they just create so many bloody chances, and my metrics love that. They love chances. They love it. Doesn't matter whether they score or not. They just love them. Bournemouth 0.1 on the other hand. Not necessarily. He doesn't like him. I've managed to fix that anyway. Bournemouth 0.1. This one, Gabe, from your perspective, is really. It's a traffic light almost. It's really green. It's almost green and red from respect to shot goal predictors and shots on target. It really, really likes Brighton. If Bournemouth come out and attack, do they know anything else other than just coming out to attack? Because if they do, I think they could get battered. Proper battered. Gabe.
Oh man, I got to be honest. I don't know what Bournemouth is doing yet. Like I've seen Iraola, so I know what he's trying to do. I've seen him do it before, but when I watch this Bournemouth team, I'm just left with this awful taste in my mouth after watching Bournemouth Chelsea. It was just such a ridiculously awful game of football with ridiculously terrible players, with tactics that were nonsensical, if existent at all. So I'm just really, I thought Iraola would cement his system, and we start to see by now we would start to see something. But the fact that we haven't, I think, is a kind of a concern for me. And look, just to kind of like back that up. Look at what happened to Bournemouth after they made substitutions. Like you see at the beginning, they have kind of like a nice balanced setup with their average positions there in that bottom left image there. And then after the substitutions to the right, it looks like they just kind of got like blown up. And when you play, like, if you ever play like a pickup game, like a Sunday game, and by like, you're trying to play as much as possible, and like the last 20 minutes, it basically turns into offense defense. You got the guys that won't run on defense that are just sit there. And you got the guys that won't run back on the offense that just sit there, and they just like ball back and forth. I think that's what happened to Bournemouth. And so I think if that's what happens to them, that space in the middle, see the space on that, Brighton's going to tear them up in that space in the middle between the offense and the defense. So I'm backing, I think the tactics back the metrics in a resounding Brighton home win.
God help me, I don't own any at all. I'm going to have to hide behind the sofa here. 100% I'm behind the sofa for this one. This could kill me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start Pedro again, aren't I, for like the 7th?
Yeah, watch him being benched.
He was benched last week, mate. It worked out nicely, 7 points.
Well, we'll be able to see once we get these Europers. Once we will obviously know by the time we get later in the week.
Thursday night and Welbeck's still injured, I am going to go all in with Pedro. Forget Alvarez. Forget Alvarez, guys. Estupinian is the one I'm most interested in seeing what's going on with him, because I just honestly think this is, if you're talking about getting an attacking return and a potential clean sheet, this is that game. This is the 10 plus point. Like, these are the Estupinian games you're trying to get 10 to 15 points from. Like, I just really need him to be fit, man. Big time. What are your thoughts on, obviously, March was out as well. We were quite shocked by that. It sounds like he's now been past fit again. It was a lot last
yeah,
month. What were your thoughts on Fatty? Like, what did you think, Gabe? Like, do you think he's still quite raw, or like, do you think he's gonna be playing cups? Like, or is there a world in which he can like displace March and take that like right wing slot for himself?
So I don't think he'll displace March. If anything, I mean, when he first came into the game, he was playing wing back for a while. He was playing left wing back for a while, like not actually that position, but that's where he was located on the field at the beginning. And then what happened? It was interesting. He had more freedom of movement, and he had kind of like the left corner and the center of the box. So it was almost like this inside left winger and support striker. So I that's what we've seen from him so far. And like we've seen what Brighton and De Zerbi and Potter before him can do with young players, right? And the way they can develop them. So I don't think we know enough about Fatih and his involvement yet. It seems like De Zerbi is going to put him in low stress positions to build his confidence. So it could be cups while getting a sprinkle in the league. But I think March has that right side nailed down. I think he would have. I think it's a shame he didn't start against United. I think he would have had a field day against them.
And then just the final one from Chat Sport, which is a valid point. Obviously, Lamptey may start again. He's 3.9 million defender. We remember Mr. X Lively himself. He was the original Estupinian before Estupinian arrived. I do wonder if he can re-kickstart his career from injuries and get back into Brighton's best team.
So there's this concept in NFL fantasy called handcuffing, and it's usually you get a player and then you also have that player's backup, and then whatever happens, you have that spot. Like if you want the left back wing back spot nailed,
you get both
for Brighton. You get both. One at 3
This is the Reece James Goodstow owners.
Or exactly. and I know a Mariner's thinking, he just said it, he's going to block you from Brighton. If you have those two Brighton, it could block you from a second Brighton attacker. Look at his evil smile. and he's absolutely right that like if you do go in that route, the only reason I thought of that is because I'm on Wildcard, so I'm playing with all sorts of crazy notions. If you do go that route, obviously you're going to be limited to one Brighton attacker, but with all the other options in attacker, in attack. I'm not sure if you would go to Brighton anyway. Remains to be seen. It is a risk.
Fair. I think let's keep going. We've got Chelsea versus Aston Villa next. I'm sure there's some questions about Chilwell.
I think this is a barrel of laughs, won't it?
So I'll let
Chelsea
you do the data first, and then
Chelsea at home against Aston Villa, another barrel of laughs. Right, okay, 1.4 for Chelsea's NetxG, 1.1 for Aston Villa, 2.7 somewhere. I think the fixture difficulty is pissed. 2.7 for Chelsea's fixture difficulty for attack against Aston Villa. Aston Villa must be bad. That's all I can say. Chelsea's right, Gabe, particularly like that's a sterling matchup for me as far as I can see. Going nowhere for me if I owned him this week. The other thing I would say is Chelsea's numbers are not particularly good when it comes to those individual matchups. They're not that green, which suggests that they're okay, but not that good. Aston Villa, on the other hand, could be a long day. They're not particularly good away from home. And I think the matchups seem to show that.
I think just for, I know we'll talk about the lineups and the UCL after, but from my perspective, I think Villa is something that I'm looking to go and invest in, and I'd always thought it would be Watkins. But with him losing the penalties and becoming more of a creator, it feels, they've scored 11 goals, I think, this season, and none of them have come from Watkins. And that was actually one of the questions in the Discord as well, which was from Sebastian Koo, one of our haulers. He said, should I do Watkins for Alvarez? Watkins isn't scoring. Diaby is much cheaper, and I'm now starting to lean that way as an alternative. So that's something I'm hotting up on, and I really like the look of Matty Cash. So I never thought we'd get to this fixture, and I'd be talking about like which two Villa boys do I want, and there was a mass exodus of Chelsea happening at the same time, and I did not think this would be happening, but it does feel like, in a strange roundabout way, that Villa is a team worth investing in, especially at their price points. The data seems to support Chelsea more in this, but I do just wonder if part of that is because Chelsea have actually been quite good defensively. They just don't seem to create much going forward. So they're not really that easy to break down, ultimately, I don't think, Gabe, but they just equally can't do much on the other side of the pitch. So maybe that's why Villa are suppressed in the metrics, especially on the attacking side. I think
you're mute, Gabe. So you're mute again.
Thank you. Chelsea are solid because of their center mids, I think. So that solidifies them. But what I like about Diaby in this game is that he plays between the lines, and that kind of movement between the lines and ability to find space in front of the back line and behind the two center mids, I think, is what gives him kind of a chance to maybe get something here. And yeah, we said it since preseason. Like, I think it's actually, we underestimated how much of Watkins' production was going to be cannibalized by Diaby. Like, Watkins has no goals, and I'm hearing content creators and seeing people on Twitter talking about bringing Watkins in for their nice run of fixtures. I mean, surely he'll get something. He's not going to go without goals all season, but I think Diaby is the standout pick in this team. But I always thought that we'd be talking about multiple Villa players around this time, right? I mean, after Chelsea, Brighton, they play Brighton, and Brighton don't have a great defense. And after that, then a really nice fixture run starts. But I would say, I don't know. So Cash has been super hot, right? He's been the attacking wing back on the right side. But I think I'm pretty sure it's because Alex Moreno has been injured. And I think once Alex Moreno's healthy again, I think he was on the bench this past weekend. Let's see what happens tomorrow. If Moreno gets, say, if he gets 30 minutes tomorrow and he looks healthy, I think Moreno would likely start at the weekend, and he would be my pick instead of Cash, because I think once Moreno gets into the side, Cash gets held back and they revert to a back three, kind of building up that left side with Moreno rather than having Cash on the opposite side there.
It's interesting what you say about that, because I've just put this up just as just as we started talking, Gabe. Cash is actually third with respect to involvement for Aston Villa right now. Obviously, Diaby's top, very close to Watkins, but basically one's goals and one's assists. Watkins is just an assister this year, isn't he? Not a scorer. But we said all along that we thought Diaby could cannibalise Watkins, and he indeed has done that. Cash is a bit of a surprise for me, to be honest with you, but he's cheap, and I think that's the point. And I think that's the key with all this, is that if he sticks around, he's a good option. But the risk is like you say, is Marino going to come in, and when he comes in, are they going to then attack down the other flank, sort of thing? I suppose is what you're coming from. Okay, that one. Any more, Nima? Shall we keep going?
I think we'll keep going.
Unless
Yeah. While you're going, I'm just going to give them
just really quickly, Mariner. You did mention Sterling. Since Villa build up so much from that left side, that's what makes that this a nice matchup for Sterling, like you said, on the right hand side there.
Right. Okay. Because I mean, again, if I let me just put, I'll just put. I'm not sure how accurate this is because I haven't audited this one or checked this one, but Sterling is just massively involved in Chelsea's stuff. Look. He's involved in more stuff, so much more than everybody else, and I think that's the point. Albeit saying that, guess who isn't in there? Jackson. Whoops. Guess why he isn't there? Because he hasn't scored anything. Probably. But I dare say his expected involvement would be quite high. As I say, I needed to do Chelsea. I never got around to doing them today. Shall we keep going, or have we got any quick points we want to make on this one? There's a few people talking about Diaby. So it's Martin Diaby essential from week 9, week 10 even, he says. Claire's at Diaby from the start. Cash can have a good time versus Neto. What a player. Well, okay, fair enough. Right, should we keep going? Nima, should we keep going, mate?
Yeah, Liverpool versus West Ham. I think this one.
Okay, Liverpool. So Liverpool, West Ham, 2.06 NetxG for Liverpool at home. West Ham 1.32. Fixture Difficulty loves Liverpool. They're just creating so much. 5.2, absolutely, it really fancies them. The right matchup for Liverpool's coming back, Gabe. I've noticed. Starting to come back. It's been missing for a while. It's coming back again. XG 2.2, big chances 3.7, shots on target 5.3, 10.8 headers, 10.8 shots in the box, 3.3 headers. Your matchups really like the shots on goal, 29% for 2 goals, basis shot goal, and 34% for 2 basis shots on target. West Ham are not that good away from home. Liverpool are very good at home. I have a funny feeling that Mr. Salah's going to return again, maybe more than once, is my view. Okay.
Yeah, I'll turn to the average position maps for Liverpool against Wolves and look at the first one there before the subs were made. Well, how Salah is isolated, like almost like a similar idea as Brian and Mbumo, where they pack the midfield, pack that left side, and kind of like work it there for a while and then release through Salah. But I'll also notice that Salah is not super wide anymore. He's playing a little bit more central, and I think that was the biggest indicator to me that it's time to get Salah. I think wide, we see how he's been a provider this season. Lots of assists, lots of creativity from wide areas. And as he's moving central, I think he's getting closer to the goal, and now he's starting to shoot. So I think Salah will be on the end of a lot of these. Now look at after the subs. What I like is Darwin and Diaz. It's Darwin and Diaz together on the left hand side, and that once the subs are made, that's kind of, so that tells us that that's their plan B. That the left side with Darwin and Diaz is the plan B, and then isolating Salah is their plan A. So I think get Salah in as soon as you can, as it makes sense for you. But the sooner the better. I think he'll start returning. I like Diaz's matchup on the left hand side against Sofal. I think 1v1 creating chaos against Sofal is not a difficult thing to do. So I'm quite bullish on the Liverpool assets, and finding a hard time both bringing them in and not having them in my wild card. It's a tough decision to make. You're muted.
I might get him early. Chris is muted at the moment, but
yeah, hang on. Sorry, I was coughing. I'll tell you where I am about this. I would love a Liverpool asset to emerge before game week 9 so that I don't have to bring Salah in and tear the team up to do it. But I fear we are not gonna see that asset appear, and I think it is going to be Salah. He is just doing Salah things. I want to just turn attention onto West Ham a little bit. Nima, I mean, West Ham's fixtures are not great at the moment. This one isn't particularly good at all. But is there a world in your FPL season that you can see yourself on in James Ward-Prowse? He's involved in a lot of what they do.
Is it 2 goals, 3 assists so far in 4 games?
No doubt Moyes is playing to his strengths, and that's very wise. Wise old owl. That is David Moyes, right? You know, he knows I think he knows how to get the best out of James Ward-Prowse, if you ask me.
I really like Ward-Prowse, but I don't feel like much has changed from when he was at Southampton, in the sense that we didn't really own him often then either, and he was pretty good then. Is it just that he has Paqueta next to him? So, like, together as a duo, they're very formidable, and Paqueta allows him to be able to play more freely than he maybe did at Southampton? I don't know, because he's one of those kind of steady eddies that ticks along. Like, you can't really buy him for like 5 weeks and sell him based on fixtures. You kind of keep him and you play him every week, as we saw in the last fixture, right? So when West Ham got their goal against City, like, I think he's a long-term hold. He's not someone you can just buy and go out of in different parts of the season. But I personally can't see myself going there, if I'm honest. I have him in every draft format instead. He's that kind of player for me. I can see a lot of people going for Bowen when West Ham's fixtures turn, and it actually being Ward-Prowse who ends up getting all the points.
Yeah,
so that's something I could see
that as well.
Yeah, that's something I could see happening.
So,
sorry, Gabe. James Ward-Prowse is your 5th midfielder. Can you get there?
Yeah, I can get there. Am I there? I think James Ward-Prowse is. So he's in. Is he in my current draft? No, he's. So yeah, I have Saka there instead. But James Ward-Prowse, he's like a Gundogan set piece specialist. Like his returns this season 9, 6, 7, 7, something like that. Like, he's returned and he hasn't blanked, not once. I think he's just an incredible pick. Yeah, 9, 6, 7, 7 for returns, and he's played Chelsea, Brighton, and City in 3 of those 4. So I mean, I think he's. I don't know. He's not quite fixture proof, but I think he's an obvious transfer in. I mean, as soon as now against Liverpool, he could get something against Liverpool. Obviously, Sheffield United next. Newcastle maybe a little bit more difficult, but it's a home fixture. And then after that, Villa, Everton, Brentford, Forest, Burnley, Palace, Spurs, Fulham, Wolves. It's so good for James Ward-Prowse. I think he might be the best 5th midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, long range, we're talking about 5 to 10 game weeks out. We're talking about both Bowen and Ward-Prowse looking at, 3 returns approximately, that, in 5 weeks. Which, I mean, it is what it is. These numbers are a bit. The thing that I would say is that West Ham's XG matchups go from 5.46 for these 5 game weeks to 7.43 for the next 5. So you can see how the fixtures improve. It's just whether you go there early, Gabe, or not, I think, is the question. And I would argue, looking at this one this week, no doubt he could get something, but the headed matchup doesn't support it, oddly enough. And I think for that reason, that might be enough for me to actually just hold off. I think if there was a chance of a headed matchup, it makes me think.
But James Ward-Prowse can score diving headers against the league champions.
I know he's
no longer he's now a sexy pick. You can't say he's not a sexy pick anymore. Now he's porn.
No, I'm absolutely on side. I like him.
Right.
I like him. Yeah, I like him. Let's keep going. I do like him. So the last game of the game week, Sheffield
United against Newcastle. Right, okay. Newcastle 1.68 NetxG away at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United's 1.13. This is interesting because I've got a funny feeling Sheffield United will come out firing. Newcastle 1.9 fixture difficulty and 2.3 for defence. Sheffield United obviously the opposite. Newcastle's XG matchup's good, big chances is good, 2.7, 5.3 shots, 9.8 shots in the box. Sheffield United is not. We haven't got much data for them. And the only, I think, have they how many home games have they had? They played Everton. So I'm not even sure we can use that data either, because it's Everton.
They played City, right?
They played City there as well. What was that score? Yeah, they lost. Yeah, so they've had two. They haven't really. Well, Everton's one side. Yeah, okay, maybe we're all right then.
Might be balanced.
Look, I'll tell you where I am. I am playing my Newcastle defenders or defender. There's a possibility. There's not out the realms of possibility. I don't end up with two before the start of this game week. Particularly if I hear something about Chilwell, because he's pissed me off big style. But I may hold him. Gabe, did my eyes deceive me, or have you got in your current FPL wildcard draft 3 Newcastle defenders?
I do have 3 in my current wildcard draft.
You absolute sadistic git.
You sick person.
Sadism on the biggest. It's absolute.
That 90th minute clean sheet wipeout.
It's suicide. I've never watched the game ever again. I'd turn it on.
I know. So it's like what's riskier? Triple Newcastle defense or Callum Wilson?
You can't
have that.
Man. You're going to block yourself.
You're going to block yourself. I told you again. You're going to block yourself. So you're blocking yourself.
You're going to take a -4 to sell Botman so you can get Wilson in somehow.
You could flip that, right? You're going to take a -4 when Callum doesn't start to sell Callum to get Botman in. It's just like, I don't know how it's going to go. Okay.
I mean, look, we're going to get back to this bloody raining in the desert before too long, aren't we? You just hate Callum Wilson. I think that's the key here. I mean, look, I'll say this. I do think that, potentially Wilson is a extremely, extremely good pick. But, we're talking about assets who are of interest. Let's not discount players like Gordon. He's heavily involved and he's only 5.5 million. Now, could there come a time that we see someone like him starting to, he maybe should be in our mind right now, given the fact he's involved in nearly 40% of everything that Newcastle do. That said, I see the need for 2 Newcastle defenders. I think the only way we can score points is with 2 Newcastle defenders going forward. I own Trippier. I expect to have 1 more. 3, I think, is a bit too much, Gabe. I'm sorry. I think it's a bit too maverick.
I guess the question is, how often are you actually going to play the 3, right? Because the reality is you probably play 2 of them at best, and the third one is a sub in case your other defender doesn't come on. And I don't see a week where you're going to be benching if like, for example, this week it's Stupinian versus Bournemouth. If Stupinian starts, you're not going to play 2 centre backs over him, like.
Right. I would bench. I would play 2 center, not over him though. I would play Cher and Botman, and I would bench Burn. Right. But
it's Burn. That's not Trippier for the third one. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's not limiting
the
investment. So not
going Trippier as well.
Well, no, I don't know. I'm deciding that I don't want Trippier. That I can get value with the cheaper ones, right? But like next week, right? I'd play them all home to Burnley.
I thought you were going to bench boost next week. I thought that was what you were going to tell me. You're going to bench boost next week with all 3 against Burnley, and you watch your bench boost score you nothing.
No, I do like triple ups in defense.
Actually, that's a good shout. I could bench boost next week with this wild card.
God, I've set him off.
He's
going to bench boost in a double game week. It's a double game week.
I'll tell you why. You've got a double. You might have a double game week player, and your rest of your Newcastle. Yeah, exactly. You play your double game weekers, bench your Newcastle players, whack them on. And what's his name? As I was saying last night, I got something wrong as well. Last night when I talked up Lyle Foster, and of course he's suspended. So Burnley's attack has disappeared. There isn't any.
No, man, Koleosho. I'm calling it now.
Is he any good? No, there is there is him, isn't there?
Yeah, Koleosho.
Yeah,
he's the one who created the goal for Burnley. The way he didn't get the assist, Foster did, but Foster just tapped it onto the goal scorer, Mooney or whatever. It was all Koleosho who created it, and he looked electric. So I do think they still have, like, just the way Burnley play. I think they're going to want to build on getting that point. Like, obviously, Company came out and he said, like, a lot of good things around this will give the lads confidence. They'll keep growing into this. I still think that Burnley are a better team than Luton by far. So yeah, I'm not having that just because Foster's out that like Luton are suddenly not going to do.
I'm trying to get him to. I'm trying to get him to do his bench boost. I've got to beat him somehow this year. Might be the only way
is going to get an assist
to stitch him up.
Kabore is going to get an assist. I'll reassure him that way instead. You get an assist from 4 million Kabore plus 4 appearances. That's 7 points, man.
Anyway, I want to ask you a question. I own Isak. What do I do with him?
Oof.
So
it's looking like a seller.
Do you have Alvarez? You have Alvarez already?
But I also have Jackson.
Alvarez is
Oh, wow.
No.
Alvarez
is top priority for
one of those.
Doesn't own him.
Yeah, for one of those two. But which one? I mean, quite frankly, I would probably sell them both. I've got a funny feeling I'll end up with Edouard this week as well. So there's my other move, probably.
Maybe you just get rid of both.
Yeah, I am tempted to. But no, I mean, look, if I was there, is there a world to actually hold Isak against Sheffield United? I was being tried. I think Connor actually is in the chat here. I think he was trying to talk me off it in Twitter. I think he was saying, "Oh, come on, Chris, Isak is, why would you sell him before Sheffield United?" Yeah, I'm worried about his minutes, and he doesn't particularly look in very good form either, if you ask me. But there you go, that's just me.
Well, and we talked about Sheffield United last week, and you can see it in the average position slides there. So, and everybody they brought in Son, some people even captain Son. You don't want the center forward playing against the back three. That's not their job. Sounds weird, but it's not their job to score. It's their job to move the back three around and open spaces for other people to score. So if Isak is playing at the 9, I don't think that's the best situation for him. I do think Callum Wilson is a little bit different because of pens, first of all, and just because of his movement. I feel like he flares wide to link a little bit more, but not ideal for a center forward. Sheffield United fixture is not ideal for a center forward.
No, I tend to agree with you. Any more things on this one, Nima, or are we going to jump off and keep going onto the?
We need to get to captaincy in less than 2 minutes. So if you want to cover some of the forward-looking slides, maybe before we get to captaincy.
Hang on a second. So
I think these will be helpful for any potential wildcarders.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is just the summaries. So I mean, what you'll see if you come to the YouTube, if you're listening at 1 hour and 18 minutes exactly, you will get the summary of all the matchups showing the fixture difficulties, etc., zonals. And as you can see, the one which leaps off the page for me, certainly with respect to zonals, is Brighton. The fixture difficulty as well is very good, but the best fixture difficulty is Liverpool. So Liverpool, Brentford, Brighton, and then Arsenal with respect to fixture difficulty. Brighton's matchups are great. Shots in the box, Brighton, as usual, blitz it. 13 against Arsenal's 12.3 and Brentford's 12. So yeah, come and have a look, and then again, just gives you opportunity, doesn't it? And then long range, here again, this is at 1 hour 18:45. You will see that Liverpool's fixture difficulty now climbs away 14.3, as we see. Everybody's wife was getting interested in Liverpool. We said they were going to turn about. Now they are. Newcastle are now improving as well, even though I'm just about to sell Isak. Manchester United 12.2. Then Manchester City have dropped it now, interestingly enough. Zonals, Manchester United, still seem to stack up. Not a lot else does. Although saying that probably tells me Rashford's matchup's about the best there on the left-hand side. Probably tells me you could hold him. And XG, again, these are all ranks on the basis of overall here. And you can see that What we've got, Manchester United again looking pretty good. So yeah, Newcastle looking good. So I think Manchester United and Newcastle for me are the standouts quite right now when it comes to matchups going forward for the next few weeks.
Nice. And as if by magic, at exactly 1 hour 20, we're going to get to the captaincy metric. This might be the fastest in about a season and a half. And do let us know what you guys think about trying to shorten the show from 2 hours to 90 minutes. Hopefully we can achieve that today. But yeah, let me play the jingle. And if you've enjoyed the show so far, if you found it entertaining, please do hit that like button, of course. But otherwise, here is the Game Week 6 Captaincy Metric.
Oh, no. A change in the guard, and it's not surprising because he is just so consistent at the moment. Mo Salah has jumped above Haaland, probably due to one blank by Haaland. I think that's about all it is. But also, if we're looking at this in any real detail, what do we see? Well, interesting enough, both NetxG and the fixture difficulty do not like Manchester City as much, and that is Forest. Oddly, I think that's Forest. Now, it might also be a little bit of the fact that the way that the data that we're taking, Gabe, remember, is taking the back end of last season for Manchester City. So there's the caveat, right? So that's where it becomes a little bit interesting. What I'm going to do, as always, now when I'm on, I'm going to actually switch over to the actual calculation, and we can change a couple of things here just to see what happens. So if we were to switch Haaland to 98 and 89, which is the same as that he jumps back above Salah. So if you think that fixture is better for Manchester City than the fixture difficulty and things like that do, then Salah is second, not first. Okay, looking at a bit further down here, Mbumo, right? He is on at third in 83, but he's struggling with his whole numbers. NetxG don't like it, but the fixture difficulty really does. Again, I don't know how many times has he been unlucky. If Mbumo had one more haul, that pushes him right close to the others. One more haul. So again, this is narrow. I'll tell you what else I'm going to point out to you as well now, is that Darwin Núñez's minutes, look there, his average minutes are 28. Now, if he played a full game, he's right up there as well in third. So there's a lot can change. So there's a lot of caveats this week, I think, with those. I think, to me, though, it's a straightforward two-horse shootout, Salah or Haaland. The issue is, are you brave enough? After Haaland had 6 big chances last week and only converted 1, left 1 as well, which he could have had as well. I mean, anyone who didn't captain Haaland last week, and I was one of them, I thank my lucky stars, because I could have got destroyed. And I'll tell you what, this could easily happen this week again. I don't own Salah. It's an easy call for me. Gabe, you probably will own Salah. What are you thinking of doing?
After getting extremely lucky captaining Madison instead of Holland in Game Week 5, I will never not captain Holland again.
That was too much.
Well,
I think we just delete this show out there. Delete this bit. Yeah, we don't need it anymore.
There's no more metric.
We're just going to captain Holland.
I mean, talk about learning something. You know that they say, like, careful or you'll learn it the hard way. You'll learn a lesson the hard way. So Madison blanked, Holland returned, and I feel like I learned the easy way. This is the easy lesson, because missing 5 big chances is historic. and I think that's the universe being nice to me in Game Week 5, which is why I don't think Game Week 5 is all tiers. It's all Holland from now on. I think owning Salah is enough, given the still relatively low ownership compared to Holland.
Yeah, I think the only risk with Salah is getting 1 return a week, which I was getting when I owned him, and I find the opportunity cost is high. He needs to haul. He has to haul. He needs to haul every third week. Every second or third week, he needs to haul. I'm okay with a return every now and again, one return some weeks, but I think you need more than that from him. And I think, he's gone. His last 6 game weeks were 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. He's returning, but that was his first haul for some time. And I think that's the point I would make with it. I do expect, though, by the time we're playing Everton in game week 9, who have they got in game week 10? But the fixtures really turned very favourably for Liverpool by game week 9. But I expect he'll top those metrics over that period as well.
We've been asked about Darwin having his minutes pumped up to 90 minutes average instead of 28.
Yeah, no, I've just done that. I did it earlier, didn't I?
That's what I mean.
It went up to 87. Yeah, it went up to 87.
That's what I was going to say. It doesn't go up as much as you think, because I've asked you to take players up who were at like 74 before, and they only went up to like 78. I always thought that minutes alone would be enough to kind of make up for everything else, but I guess this was just an opportunity to show that it doesn't always...
I mean, look, his minutes have been a problem. We thought we even put him on the bloody thumbnail last week, as much as anything to piss Gabe off, but also, from the perspective, we generally thought that he started to look like an asset which we might want to consider owning, and then he goes and gets benched again.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean?
But obviously, he travelled for Uruguay, and
yes,
I think out of all the players who played in South America during that break, I think Alvarez was the only one who started a game. I don't think any other South American player played in the Prem as a starter this weekend. So I wouldn't put it down to just like, oh, that's it, like Darwin's done. I think
it may be fine. He may be fine, but the numbers are the numbers. So I think we have to say that. And interesting enough, another one there, Nima, look, Saka. I mean, the fixture against Spurs is quite good. He's the talisman. He hasn't had a haul.
The last 6 haul is only 2, though, isn't it? Second percentile.
Yeah. It's nothing. It's none. It's no holes. That means he hasn't got one. That means he hasn't had one. So he's just balanced with it. And Odegaard as well, no holes. And Arsenal always spread their XG about, which is the other problem.
I think what I would add here, and I think Gabe probably maybe has a better view on this, is I know earlier in the chat we were talking about bias and stuff, and that is fair. I think Blackscreen mentioned that Arsenal was struggling to score, which is true, and said regression to the mean is happening. I think I would tend to disagree, because I remember we spoke on the Above Average pod chat about how Saka was going to revert to his mean and he wasn't going to keep overperforming. At the moment, Saka's got 2 goals, 2 assists in 5 league games. To me, that feels like he's still continuing, and that's despite Arsenal not clicking, not being out of second gear, not looking fluid. And the part that I was going to ask you about, Gabe, is I just feel Arsenal are going to start trying to do what Man City do. People have been saying for years Man City are boring because they just sit there and suffocate opponents and they don't really look and risk much. I think that's what Arsenal are building towards, is more controlling games. And that means that they're now not creating as much, because it's not like a basketball environment anymore. There's none of these like running up and down the pitch and like panicking while the opponent's about to equalize or beat you in the last second of the games. It's suffocate them. No, I'm not talking about returns. I'm talking about Arsenal as a whole. And that's my point, though. So that's why.
Sorry, I'm pulling your leg. You're getting on an high horse about it. But
it's not. This is just the black screen, because we've spoken about this before, and they've got this view that Arsenal overperformed their numbers last year and will revert to a mean this year. I'm saying Arsenal's players are young and they will keep improving. So you're not accounting for the fact that their underlying numbers can get better, rather than that they'll just stop having the output at the overperforming numbers. So I think, yes, we'll score less goals in general because we're going to try to control games, but I think these players are all going to improve their underlying numbers. And I know that I would take a bet with you, I'm happy to do it, that Saka is going to be one of the only players in the league to get double-digit goals and assists again this season.
We don't support gambling on Net That Haul. But anyway, on another point, I just make one, gentleman's bet, pint of beer. I might only make one point. And I think probably one of the reasons why they're not that high on these metrics at the moment, and they haven't topped the metric for some time, is the fact that they share their XG about, and they share their returns around. They don't. It's never one player who comes and does what Evan Ferguson did and just goes out there and just gets a hat trick. Bang, bang, bang. It doesn't happen. And Arsenal always seem to spread it about. It's just the way they do it. Nothing wrong with it.
Look, the evidence. The evidence is in the haul for Saka and Odegaard alike.
Both second
percentile haul. So they don't
Yeah.
haul, but they are so steady, and you can almost bank on something, especially from Saka.
I agree.
Every
You,
single
I
but
agree.
I would say you could also argue that when Odegaard was topping the metrics ahead of Saka last season, he was topping the captaincy metric ahead of Haaland. That was in a period when Jesus and Zinchenko were all playing. And tonight's the first night Jesus is starting a game in a long time.
He did haul last year, didn't he? He did haul last year.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Odegaard
he
is
did.
like a
I mean, I remember
hauling.
the double return, and I do remember the double returns. We've just not seen them for a while, and I think that whether that's a
time
change
has
in
coincided with no Jesus. So Jesus
Yeah,
brings out the best of the rest of them, is my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he
Fair point.
plays everywhere, and he will let the others run into the box and interchange with them and give them the chances to score. So
Right,
I think
1
they're
hour
gonna-
30, gentlemen. 1 hour 30.
We've
There's
done
the
really
there's
well.
the klaxon. There's the klaxon. 1 hour 30. Questions? How long?
Live
5
Q&A.
minutes?
Let's do it. Let's start with the Discord ones. There's only 2 of them, and then we've got about 10 of them saved in the live chat for tonight. So the first question from Don Black Dragon: is Chilwell a hold or a sell? Has Chilwell lost his place? So I guess I'd address that first. Do you think Chilwell has lost his place? I think if he's lost his place, it is a sell. I don't think he's lost it yet, personally.
I agree. I don't think he's lost his place. Could I use the money on Chilwell somewhere else? Yes, I could. Will I use the money for Chilwell for somewhere else? More than likely.
And then the next question to link to this is: if he has lost his place, what do you think about moving double Chelsea defense to double Newcastle defense to start?
Absolutely. It's the only place I would go. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the only place I would go. I mean, I own Trippier, but I would go for Botman probably, because obviously I don't really want to Trippier and Shah. I think that's too much money. But as I own Trippier,
Botman
I'd probably go for the
Shah.
cheap.
So the thing is, Botman and
But
Shah.
Botman and Shah's fine.
I think that's good.
Botman and Shah's absolutely fine. In fact, I think maybe unless Trippier starts performing, maybe he's a bit too expensive. But anyway, I've never bet on laying in it.
And then the one from Sebastian Koo, they've got 1 free transfer. Should they sell Watkins for Alvarez? Just going back to that idea that Watkins isn't the one who's scoring and is creating.
Just going back to the idea that Alvarez is essential.
This week, yes.
Get him.
I think
get him.
Cool. All right. So the questions we have in the live chat, we have Nick Khan, a famous Chelsea fan, up the Union Berlin and PSV, going against all the. I can't believe he's coming at us like that game. I thought he was our friend.
No, I'm about to DM him. Don't worry, I got this, guys.
Please.
I'm gonna take him out back and rough him up a little bit.
Please send them a video of Jackson with the goal getting wider each time he shoots. That video is
That's
fantastic.
what I'm gonna do. That's
the best thing I've seen. That's the best thing I've seen all year.
Ready, Nick.
Right.
Get ready.
Come on, then. Let's go. Let's go.
Yep. So we've got 5 minutes and we're going to be out of here. Milos Filipovic, what to do with Martinelli? I think wait for the presser, straight sell if that scan comes back as he's missing Tottenham. If he's missing Tottenham, get him out.
Yeah.
Next one, Son of Sam. Do you think Wilson will play the league and Isaac in Europe now?
The problem is it was was it 4 days this time, wasn't it? Was it 4 days break? I mean, I think I can't quite remember. When did they play? Did they play Saturday? I think they did, didn't they?
Saturday, then Tuesday. Then
Newcastle played Saturday, so
Yeah, Saturday, then Tuesday.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Well, they play Sunday the next game. Tuesday to Sunday.
Yeah, I think there.
Is there a world in which Isaac starts in the league and Wilson plays the EFL Cup next midweek?
I think this whole conversation is. I don't think there's like you have your Premier
League
players
either
and you have your Champions League players. So what I'm saying is I don't think it's that simple. Wilson has been around for a really long time, and now that they finally get into Europe, he's going to get 0 minutes in Europe and only play the Prem. I think there's going to be a mix, and I think there's going to be a mix of like they'll both play a little bit of each, and we don't really know yet what the arrangement is, what that system is.
No. One thing we do seem to know is they don't often play together. So that's one thing. So maybe they're both avoids for that reason. Okay, maybe treble Newcastle defense is the way.
All right,
next.
I've got Vicario as my goalkeeper. I have Maddison, Saliba, and Saka. Is it best to bench Saliba? So reduce coverage in the North London derby to just Saka, Maddison, and Vicario. I think Saliba's an okay bench this week. I might sell him this week, in fact. But yeah, I think out of those, like you're not going to bench Maddison or Saka to play Saliba. So yeah, 100%. 100%. Colm asks, prefer. So this was about the whole enablers stuff earlier. We talked about Sarr as well. But he's saying, does he prefer Salah over Son? But to afford Salah over Son, he maybe then needs Diaby and Sarr instead of Diaby. So it's kind of Salah plus Sarr or Son plus Diaby. Like that will make it easier. I think that's what he was trying to imply.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, and I'm afraid, and the one thing I've noticed when I was looking at trying to get Salah back, you have to make sacrifices.
You have to
There's
lose.
no way. You have to make sacrifices to do it. Is Sarr the best option? You know, I mean, they get, and in particular, Hall has defended quite a reasonable case for him. As I say, I just have this blocking feeling about it. But sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to take your medicine in order to get the player that you want. That might be one of those times.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a few more just to go quickly. Catherine A. Will Jacob Ramsey affect things for Villa? So obviously he's nearing a return.
When he comes back, he's a serious player. I expect him to do things this year, but I think he's young. He's been out for a long time. He'll be eased back. Watch.
Emery loves tinkering, so he'll try to get him involved.
He'll squeeze him somehow, yeah.
But he will. But he'll probably be bit part, I would imagine, for quite a while. I wouldn't be all surprised.
So I think Leon asked about if the potential wildcard was covered. So Gabe is on a wildcard. We were joking about the triple Newcastle defense he has. So there was some parts where we discussed it. I don't think we've discussed potential wildcard so much, and considering this part is a kind of quick fire Q&A, I don't think we'll really get the chance. But
should I go through my draft really quick? You want me to read it out?
Draft? I think that's a good.
I'll just read out.
Yeah, really fast. Really fast.
So, really fast. Raya and Areola, a backline of Estupinian, Cher, Botman and Byrne, and Cabore. Midfield Diaby, Mbomo, Saka, Salah, and Ward-Prowse. And front three of Edward, Alvarez, and Holland with 1.5 million in the bank.
1.5 million. Wow. I like it. Oh, bro, this guy best not be lying. The guy who just DM'd me knows everything about UCL before the notifications from anywhere come. So if you don't know it yet, check out Madrid. If he's not, he's never been wrong before. He just said a name in capital letter. Yes, I told you. Yes.
Right. Anyway, enough of this mirth. 1 hour 36. I'm muted.
Jude Bellingham.
Please.
Yes.
I'm going to mute him. There we go. I've muted him.
Martin said that was like an injury time winner against Union Berlin. All right. Is Pedro Porro over Matty Cash and the starting Ben Chilwell? So what do you guys think? Is Pedro Porro essential over Matty Cash? I'm not sure. Or are you saying worth a transfer? Okay, so you're wondering whether to kind of sell Porro for cash or Ben Chilwell
for cash? I mean,
yeah,
Villa's fixtures are turning, aren't they? I don't know. I quite like Cash, but I think Ben Chilwell is. If he's still playing and you don't worry about needing to find some more money to go somewhere else, then I'd just stick with Chilwell, surely. Chilwell plus Cash, maybe that's where I'd go right now. He is heavily involved, even if he's just playing. Is that okay?
Black Scooters Wilson just signed a new contract. Isaac can't score anymore.
So there we go. That's it. It rains in the desert. Right. Okay.
Martin says not a bad wildcard, to be fair.
Apart from them treble.
I don't see Martinelli on the bench on Sofa Score, so I don't know where you've seen that black screen.
Oh, this is Sofa Score here. Look, it's an orange sofa. Look, there we go. Sofa Score. That's what we've got here. Someone talking about my sofa. I don't have brown score. Well, that's where I watch my football. It's like, what was I going to say? It's better than my brown curtains anyway. I don't have brown curtains anymore.
Okay, so Martin has Chilwell only and doesn't have Porro or Cash and wants both. So it's kind of like, I think moving Chilwell on after we find out his starting, I think I'd still try and give him this fixture.
It's Cash for me.
I don't know if I really want Cash this week though.
No, not this week.
Porro this
definitely don't want. You don't want Porro this week.
So I think you give Chilwell that one more dice roll, and we see again for Game Week 7. But thank you everyone for tuning in. 1 hour 38. We've actually managed to finish 20 minutes earlier than normal, which is a big start.
Amazing.
It's a big improvement.
Huge.
Everyone in the chat was saying make the show longer when I asked what's your feedback for making it shorter. But so if you want to join the mini league and you're on podcast, it's HUP69D is the mini league code. If you're a YouTube member or a Patreon, you're a hauler as we call you. You can also join the members only league. Game week 6 is the last week to enter, and we will be talking about the prizes once it's locked and we have our final members. Thank you to all the haulers who support the channel, starting with our super haulers: Fingerman Bob, David Harrison, Zach, Harbour Boy, Daddy Bot, Greenback Golf, FPL Robbie, Darnish, Mateus, Leon, Son of Sam, and my screen is too small to read that. Temitope, I think.
I'm struggling as well.
We've got our haulers,
struggling
Dread
too.
FPL, FPL Craig, FPL Podner, Kevin Rose, C Hunt, Donny FPL, Oscar Arias, FPL Teacher, Blonde, S Scotters, William, Tom, Devindra Raj, Lindsay, FPL DG Boy, Akshay, Dom, Claire, Catherine, Salah the Samurai, Harry Not Kane, Neil, Sebastian Koo, Benjamin Lockwood, Robert Ducky, Niels Apples, Nick Khan, Big Mike, FPL Discomfort, General Zod, Goladi Street Preachers, Jack M, FPL Planner, FPL Bondos, Jamie Baker, Brett M, Pei Hong Tan, and our 6 Patreons, Elron, Lucian Gan, FPL California, Fingerman Bob again, Rom Frost, and Mike Bourne. Or I think it might be Mike Burke. So that might be a typo there. Apologies, buddy. But yeah, this was the Game Week 6 Matchups show. It's been a pleasure to have you all here. And yeah, just really love seeing you all. Son of Sam, we will not be friends for this weekend's North London derby, but we can be friends again afterwards. See you on the other side. And yeah, big win for Madrid, Gabe. Thank you for being here with us through it. And yeah, we'll see you guys back for the reviews next week and the matchups again. So we'll tweet those out.
And up the Mariners. Never mind all this UCL rubbish. Up the Mariners. There we go. I've got that in for once.
Up the Mariners. All right.
Take care,
Peace
guys.
out, guys. We'll see you for the next one.
See you soon. Bye-bye.